G'day ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to yet another episode of the show. Today's dish we're going to be heroing pork belly. Pork belly! I'm going to be making a char siu marinade to slow cook the pork belly in the oven, and I'm also going to be making bao buns from scratch. This method is a 2-day process, so if you're doing it at home, bear that in mind. Here's the ingredients we're going to need for today's dish. We're going to be needing some char siu sauce, ketchup mayonnaise, hoisin sauce, rice vinegar, chili of your choice, that's optional. I've gone with some habaneros for some fresh ginger, fresh garlic, and of course,
pork belly.
Before you get started, preheat your oven to 220 degrees. Alright, so the first job we need to do is remove the skin from the pork belly. So you just need to get a nice sharp knife, run the knife underneath the skin. So I'm just going to prepare these really simply. So the chilies in half. With the ginger, I'm just going to use a teaspoon to scrape some of that skin off. So I'm just going to cut that up into pieces. And I'm just going to bash it with the knife to get it out of the skin. And then I'm going to put it in the oven. In the meantime, while we're waiting for that, I'm just going to get the barbecue glaze ready. Char siu, hoisin, ketchup mayonnaise, vinegar, and some white sugar. A cup of water. I'm just going to use a whisk to bring all that together. So once the pork belly comes out of the oven, I'm going to transfer it into a casserole dish and add this braising liquid and cook it and cover it cooked for about 5 to 6 hours. Now that our beautiful pork belly is out of the oven and roasting, I'm going to be braising it from now on. So your pork and your garlic, chili and ginger on top of that. Braising liquid and just chuck it on in. Paper. When aluminum foil is exposed to heat for a long time, it will eventually break down. What we don't want is little bits of aluminum foil baked into the top of our pork belly. So, awesome, so that's our pork belly prepared. Just gonna drop the temperature of the oven down to 150 and then cook for 5 to 6 hours. To make our bao buns, we're going to need to get 525 grams of plain flour measured out into a bowl. And to that, I'm just going to add 1 teaspoon of salt. So just going to need 1.5 tablespoons of caster sugar into a small bowl. Some teaspoon of instant dried yeast. And 1 tablespoon of warm water. Get a fork or a small whisk and just bring it together. Now while the sugar and the yeast are getting to know each other, you need 50 mils of milk. So just add the milk straight to your dry ingredients. Tablespoon of rice wine vinegar. Tablespoon of oil. Now that we've done that, we can add our yeast and sugar mixture to our wet and dry ingredients. Just going to bring that together into a nice dough. So just mix it in the bowl until it comes together, and then we're going to dump it onto the bench. Alright, so I'm just going to tip this onto the bench and knead it for about 10 to 15 minutes until it forms a nice smooth ball. After our dough's rested for about 1.5 hours and doubled in size, we're just going to press it out and sprinkle in 1 teaspoon of baking powder and then fold that through and just knead it for a short amount of time. Ladies and gentlemen, thank you very much for watching today's episode of barbecue pork belly and homemade bao buns. If you'd like to recreate today's dish at home, make sure you check the video link description where I'll be posting all of the finer details. As always guys, it is absolutely fantastic to be back and I'll see you next week.